Lewis Hamilton isn't done with F1. One of the most interesting drivers to watch this season is surely Lewis Hamilton. He has performed in a roller coaster manner this season, and one of the reasons why is that the W13 of Mercedes has struggled a lot when it comes to the new phenomenon, porpoising. In that manner, Hamilton has been out of Q1 in Jeddah, the track that he won last year against Verstappen, and has finished P13 in Imola as he was overlapped by the leader Verstappen in what was perceived as the most humiliating moment of his career. However, Hamilton has found a pace in the recent races, and although he is still to win a race, he is far away from what we were used to at the beginning of the season. Before we talk about Hamilton's plans for the future, we need to talk about his overall season. It was already brave enough of Hamilton to continue racing in 2022, after what happened last year when he lost the championship in the last race in the last lap. Many find this controversial, but we believe that Hamilton knew that he lost the title as soon as he didn't enter the pits, with Nicholas Latifi hitting the barrier at the finishing stages of the race and the safety car being deployed. We all know how that ended, and Hamilton was absent from social media since he was stripped from the 8th record-breaking title. However, after he came back, the initial goal was to win the 8th championship. With how the season started, Mercedes were nowhere near the top two performing teams, Red Bull and Ferrari. True, they've climbed the podium multiple times in the first couple of races, but that was because someone of the four top drivers in Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez and Sainz was out of the race. Hamilton finished P3 in the first race in Bahrain, with Ferrari securing a 1-2 win and both Red Bulls retiring. After that, he had to wait until the Canadian GP so that he would secure a podium again. But what was irritating and what has sparked a debate about whether Hamilton should retire prematurely was his performance in the races that were prior to the Montreal GP. We've mentioned his results in Jeddah, where he barely finished P10 battling with the Haas of Magnussen, and in Imola he was stuck in a DRS train and didn't even win a single point. Apart from that, Hamilton had a very good performance in Barcelona, where he was able to catch up to the pack from P20 and finish P5. At one point he passed Sainz, but was forced to give the place back since the team had alerted him of a potential race-ending issue, so he had to cruise to the end. Monaco was a very challenging race for Hamilton, as he ended P9 behind Ocon, only to be promoted to P8 after the Frenchman received a 5-second penalty. One of the F1 legends that talked about Hamilton and his tenure in F1 is Jackie Stewart, who said that the best times are now behind Hamilton and he needs to retire and focus on other hobbies, like music. He's now struggling a little bit because he's had a new teammate in Russell who has been quicker than him in qualifying so far this year, which is going to be hard for him to handle. I think it's time for him to resign. He's got music, he's got culture, he loves clothing, and the rag trade would be absolutely suitable for him. I'm sure he'll be very successful because he's been earning a huge amount of money. Rightfully so, because he's been the best of his time. Lewis is in that group of the Ayrton Sennas and the Alain Prosts, or even the Jackie Stewarts maybe. He's carried the sport very well. I'd like to see him resigning now. It's a pity he wasn't resigning at the top, but I don't think that's going to happen now. But, nevertheless, it's wiser to stop than go through all the pain of not being able to do what you did before, finished Stewart. And this statement was prior to Hamilton finding the pace and constantly finishing on the podium since Montreal. That is why he's been able to catch up to Sainz and Russell, and he has even passed his teammate Russell and the main protagonist for the title, Leclerc, in total podium finishes this season. One of the reasons why Hamilton was performing so badly in the first races was that Mercedes were experimenting a lot on his car so that they could improve Russell's one. Nobody knew this until Mercedes and Hamilton said it themselves, and on one occasion Hamilton said that he hopes that the team would use Russell as their guinea pig from now on. Maybe in the second half of the season, George can do the experiments. We're just trying to progress as a team. I think we'll be a little bit more cautious on doing too many experiments, as it really does hinder you through the weekend, especially if you only have FP1 and FP2 in the dry. You don't get an FP3, said Hamilton after the practice sessions in Montreal, the race where he started his streak of podiums. And at the beginning of the season, Hamilton was comparing his car to a rattlesnake, as it's very wild and it's hard to be tamed to behave like the driver would want it to behave. Apart from that, Russell has been nothing short of spectacular in Mercedes, which is why rumours about Hamilton's possible departure have begun stronger and stronger. However, recent talks have happened between Wolff and Hamilton, and the Austrian has hinted that Hamilton is far away from retirement, unlike many would like it to happen. We talked a few weeks ago about how long our partnership can go, and the number that was discussed was 5 to 10 years, so we can get to 400, said Wolff when Hamilton was celebrating his 300th GP in France, ending with season-high P2. Last year, Hamilton spoke with Corriere della Sera, saying, "I hope I'm not racing at 40. There are so many things I want to do that it would be difficult." Even according to Hamilton's ex-teammate Nico Rosberg, the Briton has a lot left in his tank, and now that he has finally found a pace with the Mercedes, things can only go up for him from here. It looks like he's in a good place still, and relishing this new challenge of having George next to him, because it's still as important as ever for Lewis to beat his teammate. "The teammate is the first guy you're measured to," said Rosberg. One way that we know that Ferrari has kind of lost their advantage to Mercedes is how Hamilton was able to pass Sainz on the same tyres, as he was 10 seconds behind when he exited the pits, but was able to catch up to him and pass him for the podium places. It's true that Ferrari have experienced problems in their performance, but to lose 10 seconds to the car that you used to absolutely destroy at the beginning of the championship, it speaks volumes about how Mercedes have upgraded their car this season. With that being said, it's likely that we'll see Hamilton in the upcoming years in Formula One. He is far away from retirement if we were to judge by his recent performances and the fact that he sacrificed his races multiple times so that Russell can have better ones speaks volumes for him as a driver and as an individual. Now that he is finally back on top, fighting with Ferrari and with Perez from Red Bull, we are in for a good season, and we hope that the second part of the season will be much more interesting, with Mercedes challenging Ferrari for the P2 spot. As of now, Mercedes is sitting 30 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, and Russell and Hamilton are very close to passing both Perez and Sainz respectively. What do you think is next for Hamilton and Mercedes? Which place do you think is the most realistic option that he and his team will finish in both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championships? Let us know in the comments below.